What is going on, folks? This is Acid Root, so welcome to part 8 of Let's Play Super Mario World. This is where we left off last time, way back in early 2023, so the concept about this particular stuff is we're just going to get back to some more of this game. Basically, I took a hiatus from this. I did finish up Donkey Kong Country 3 last year, but it's just kind of the concept that I also did some interim type games like Popeye and Donkey Kong 3, but just kind of took a break from this game. Not like I can't beat this game. This is actually one of the simpler games to beat. If I couldn't do this one, I'd really be wondering what games I would be able to do, but just kind of concept. We're going to get to this one. This is definitely, I'm going to try to finish up this content within the relative soonness, I would have to say. This is going to be something I'm going to try to work towards. Is like the next pet project for a while. It's probably just going to be tunnel vision on this particular game. I mean, I could probably possibly throw Uniracers in there, but for the most part, it's probably just going to be Super Mario World, and then we'll get to Uniracers, and then probably like some of the new games I had planned after that. Now, there's not a ton of games really left I can beat on this particular channel, and that's kind of why I took such a lengthy break in the first place, because I realized there were only so many more. I mean, it just seems kind of pointless just I don't know, there's just not a ton of real, like, superb amount of games. Like, within the past while, there's been a lot of games on this channel I've had to cancel and stuff. That's just been kind of the concept about it. When I think of things like Prince of Persia, that was a real disappointment that I wasn't able to complete that game. I really wanted to do that game. That was a pretty awesome game from what I saw of it, the first 3 levels or so, as far as that pitch kind of went with it. But you know, games like Tomb Raider, I wasn't able to get past the second stage in that one. Really wanted to do that one too. I was enjoying that particular game. And there were some other ones, like, you know, of course I wasn't able to beat Uniracers. I'm going to have to probably use cheats for that one. I don't know if I'll show off the anti-uni or something like that, but just relative stuff as far as that kind of goes. There's just been a bunch of these games that have just really been trials to kind of do, and it's just the fact I don't know the process as to how many hours or lengths amount of time that it would take to be able to beat these particular stages just within the practice of doing it repeatedly, but this is kind of the thing about it. So in the meantime, we'll just focus on Super Mario World. This is a pretty balanced game here. It's a pretty vanilla type game. It's a real good concept, but this is actually some footage from early 2023, so this first 5 minutes until we get past this stage or something like that is just the concept of just like what I had planned for what was initially going to be part 8, but I just didn't record more footage until the other day, so it's just kind of the concept. So some extra kind of stuff here, just look after it. Yeah, it's just been back and forth. It's been you know, working on vlogs, stuff like that. It's kind of the same sentiments. You know, Jackal Goldkick's been helping out with things over on Frenchy Talent, some of those type things, and this, you know, Cobalt's gotten a new job and pitches like that. Reggie's living with Cobalt. This pitches have been different since early 2023 when these sorts of things kind of happen, but I don't know, it's just kind of like I'm trying to come up with like the concept as to what could go along with this particular channel, because I do think that there's definitely some creative type stuff that could probably happen over here. It's just the concept of this, whether or not, I mean, I just feel like there's just going to be a lot of things over here that's just kind of more in patches and just kind of, you know, just be more grateful that it's happening more so than the actual see it through type concept. It's not, I mean, I can do certain video games, but just the skill set of a lot of these, there's just a lot of tough Super Nintendo and PlayStation games out there, and back in like the mid-late 90s and stuff, if you couldn't beat these games, you just didn't play them. I mean, if you spent $50 or $40 in some of these type games, you could only get to stage 4. You either played it until you could, or you wasted 40, 45 bucks or something. It's kind of the concept. It's just really, I mean, I feel like in some cases, some of these games, the skill set for some of these does not just take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 days, but like 3 or 4 or 5 months or something. It's just kind of the concept. That's why I appreciate Super Mario World so much, is just because the learning curve for this game is not that bad. You're going to be seeing a lot of deaths here in like the next gameplay segment that's in this episode. I just died a bunch, and it's really not that tough of a stage. It's just I kind of feel like my skills were kind of dusty as far as that particularly kind of went with, and even for Super Mario World. I mean, I play Super Mario Bros. 1 enough. I still have the NES Classic out in the living room and pitches like that, so I do play that game and Super Contra often enough quite a bit, but it just is kind of the thing as far as me saying that, you know, it's just not super frequent that I return to like the Super Nintendo unless I'm doing like gameplay for like a YouTube channel or something. It's kind of happens to be a thing, but we're just going to get to like the save feature, and then that should basically take care of it for this particular gameplay segment, but there's still another 4.5 minutes to get to, so that's kind of the thing. Yeah, I would just recommend just get some KFC. Once again, this is some great content to kind of have at like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. If you did like my Donkey Kong Country 3 playthrough that I finished up last fall, I would definitely have to say that this is like another companion piece to that. This works in extreme fashion with that sort of thing. This is going to be like another 2, 3, 4 hour stretch or something like that, like I was saying in the previous episode. This would really have to suppose this is just some great midnight type content. This thing's at that relative type pitch. So this is a good game. I mean, obviously this is a classic. I just look after this is great pizza type fare. The fact that it's 2 players even better. It's just a good concept, just being able to see some of these type things. Classic Mario type fold and Super Nintendo type game. Like, I thought about doing like a game like Sunset Riders, but I don't even know if I could complete that game. I mean, the problem with it is, it's just a lot of these games I would try to do. Like, I guess it was really like a streak of luck that I was even able to complete Blackthorn. I mean, really, there was a couple stages in that game back when I played that back in 2020 that just, really, I almost didn't beat that game. Especially even like the final boss, that Sarlacc dude, it was just kind of the concept as far as me saying that really it was kind of a trial as far as that particularly went. But I just had a little bit more ambition back in 2020, but you know, some of those, another game that I wasn't able to complete back in those days was Super Metroid. I mean, I've beaten that game before, but it is kind of a pain in the rear. I just would have to say it's just kind of the concept about it, just me being able to suppose that I think if I had tried hard enough back in 2020 when I was playing through that game, back when I had those skits with Cobalt and stuff, I probably could have done it, but it probably would have been a royal kind of pain in the ass as far as that particular kind of went. That's what I had to set. I remember some of those fights, like there's like this underwater, and there's 4 main bosses in that game. Ridley's one of them, and there's just a bunch of those type ones. I remember just some of those boss characters and not knowing how to wall kick and screw you over in pitches like that. Just being able to say, you know, you have to really know techniques in that particular game. It's kind of the concept about it, but I mean, that is another classic. I would like to be able to say that I have that complete. And another game I've been thinking about doing is trying to do a redo of like Zelda Link to the Past. I did do like 5 or 6 episodes of that back in 2016 when I was kind of in between segments of this channel, but I just didn't really get around to completing it. I don't know if I would like to do a reboot of it and try to do that again, because it might just have the same thing that would happen, just because it's a great game. It is a classic, but it's this kind of concept that this takes. I mean, it's just more trial than I have the patience for, and that's why I haven't been able to get to like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. I realize I only have that final dungeon, but it's just you have to fight all the boss characters that you fought, and then the final boss is probably a decent trial too, and you have to make sure you basically have to have the money to have all the potions and the gear that you need to be able to fight the final boss, because if you leave the dungeon you have to fight them all over again, or at least something like that. I don't know, some stretch of a situation, just kind of the concept that you have to, I mean, for 1992 that was a classic game, Mystic Quest, but this is kind of the concept of this. I just have not had the ambition and the overall chutzpah to want to just barrel through and get that last bit of the segment taken care of. I know I could probably beat the game if I sat through it, but it's just kind of the concept of just having that oomph to want to. But maybe eventually at some point this would have to suppose, but I realize there's only a little bit left of that particular game to do. So, you know, there's just some ones, just some kind of more restaurant type video games. Like this would kind of be like a snackage type game. This is one that is like a 3 or 4 hour game, but it's still relatively moderate in like length compared to like Link to the Past or Super Metroid or Final Fantasy Mystic Quest or Mario RPG or Chrono Trigger, some of those type ones. But I don't know if I want to start doing some of those type ones and just kind of add some length to the channel, because I realize if I were to even do a game like I know a little bit, like Super Mario RPG, it would still take me possibly 2 or even 3 or so years just to actually commit to being able to have the patience to want to do those. I mean, when I was 10 and when I was 13, it was different, but I don't know, I'm just too frenetic to really want to do that stuff. And even Yoshi isn't helping me here. It's just kind of the thing. I just am realizing that it's just not going that simply. But so we only really get 2 stages done in this particular episode. But that, you know, it's just part of the entertainment. I just look after it. It's just the concept of it. So there you go. So to have to be able to say that's an episode right there. We'll get to some more of these. I do have a little bit more gameplay. I'll record more in the future. That's just kind of the concept about it. So I just would have to say subscribe for more fun. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you in the next one.